that, maybe I'll just start with some of the preliminaries, the digital house rules. So good afternoon everyone. Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. I'm Hazel Bitanya from Child Rights Coalition Asia, or CRC Asia, a regional network of organizations working together to be a strong voice for child rights in the region. I am joined right now by our sign language interpreters. You can see KZ right now, and later on, we will be joined by Amy. They will take turns in providing sign language interpretation. And we will be with you in the next hour as we hold the virtual launch of Public Budgeting for Child Rights in the Philippines, a resource book produced by CRC Asia in partnership with UNICEF Philippines and also supported by Save the Children Philippines and Plan International Asia. As you can see in your own screen right now, you're not able to turn on your audio and video and send private messages. We disabled those as part of our child safeguarding measure because we have a child speaker today and we might also have participants below 18 years old joining us. And if you remember during the registration, we also asked you to read, understand, and adhere to our child safeguarding policy for this online activity. We are recording this online activity. We are not streaming it live right now, but later on, we might be posting the whole session or just snippets of it in CRC Asia's social media accounts. Our child speaker and other speakers have been informed that we might not be able to control everyone from taking screenshots. It's okay to take screenshots. Our child speaker has given her consent to have her photo and video taken. But if you are planning to post the photo somewhere, kindly make sure that we look good naman in those shots. Anyway, so you will not be able to see the faces and look at the interesting video backgrounds of other participants, but our chat box is open. And we have the Q&A box as well. I would like to encourage you to use these functions as we go along. We allotted time for open forum later for Q&A, but we also have the box there at the bottom of your screen that's labeled Q&A. Yeah, Q&A. And our speakers may be able to answer the questions even before the start of the open forum session, and you as participants can also post your answer in the Q&A, so we can have a discussion in that box and also in the Q&A box and also in the chat box. In the chat box, please feel free to introduce yourselves. I think in your view, you're not able to see the other participants, so please feel free to state your name or organization. And if you want it, as you introduce yourself, you can also share your favorite leisure activity or game as a child. Pwede nyo sabihin ng paborito ng libangan o laro noong bata pa kayo. Although when you say that, maybe you might actually reveal your age by telling us your favorite leisure activity or game as a child. If you're making TikTok videos or playing Animal Crossing, there's a big chance that you belong to Gen Z. But if you put something like dressing up paper dolls or playing text or renting comics at the sari-sari store, there's a high probability that you belong to another generation that is not Gen Z. So use the chat box to introduce yourself. Just please make sure that at the two button, you select all panelists and attendees and not just panelists, so that everyone can see your message. So see, I already see some answers coming in. Favorite game, Jump Garter. So please feel free to introduce yourself. And with all these online activity preliminaries said, we can proceed with the main reason that we are here today, and that is to virtually launch the new resource material from CRC Asia and UNICEF Philippines. This book, this resource material has been years in the making, especially if I date it back to 2013 or 2014, when CRC Asia became part of the group of child rights organizations in the world through Child Rights Connect, asking the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child to develop a general comment or provide their experts advice regarding public investments in children as part of the implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, Article 4. Article 4 of the UNCRC states that States parties shall undertake all appropriate legislative, administrative, and other measures for the implementation of the rights recognized in the present convention. With regard to economic, social, and cultural rights, states parties shall undertake such measures to the maximum extent of their available resources and, where needed, within the framework of international cooperation. Further guidance on the UNCRC Article 4 is provided in the UNCRC General Comment number 19, and I think my colleagues in that, or Dennis, will provide the link to the GC19 for you for your reference, just for an easy reference. Okay, thank you, Dennis, for posting that. And in this general comment, if you've read it, general comment or GC, the term civil society is mentioned 17 times. If I remember correctly, that is unprecedented. And also, if I am not mistaken, this is the first general comment that included quotes or messages from the children who participated in the development of the GC, in the consultations during the development of the GC. And having those 17 mentions of civil society and quotes from children reflect the process of development that the general comment went through. Consultations with children and civil society were conducted. They, or we, because we took part in that, we civil society organizations and the children were given the space. Our inputs were taken into consideration, and the general comment, the document, reflects that. And that is the same thing that we want to happen in our public budget documents, in the finance files of the government, to reflect the views and needs of children and the people. That is why we produce this resource material that aim to help CSOs in their budget advocacy and subsequently in supporting children to be part of the budgeting process. And now, to formally open the launch, I will call on from one of CRC Asia's partners in developing this resource material, the UNICEF representative to the Philippines, Ms. Oyun Saikan Bendevnoro. Oyun, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Mayor Maria Isabel Climaca Salazar of Zamboanga City and Director Amihang Abuyeva of the Child Rights Coalition Asia. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for gracing today's virtual launch of the resource book on children's rights. UNICEF is a proud partner of the Philippines government in fulfilling child rights in the country. Our presence in the Philippines, commencing right after the Second World War up to this day, exemplifies UNICEF's strong commitment to ensure that every boy and girl child develops to his and her full potential. To achieve this, UNICEF works across a range of partners within the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches of the government, and with multiple non-government and civil society organizations whose mission and vision are in line with UNICEF's mandate. As such, we are very pleased to collaborate with the Child Rights Coalition Asia to produce the resource book on the public budgeting for children, which is intended principally for civil society organizations. Those are very important organizations that you mentioned in your opening note. As we speak, they influence the public budgeting for the benefit of children. They are very important partners to all of us. Article 4 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child reads, "State parties shall undertake all appropriate legislative, administrative, and other measures for the implementation of the rights recognized in the Convention. With regard to economic, social, and cultural rights, states parties shall undertake such measures to the maximum extent of their available resources and, where needed, within the framework of international cooperation." In 2016, the Committee on the Rights of the Child issued General Comment number 19 on public budgeting for the realization of the children's rights, emphasizing that the state budget is a very important tool in accelerating achievement of children's rights. Global evidence shows that public spending on children is a smart investment for children, their communities, and entire countries. When governments invest in children, health outcomes improve, incomes rise, economies grow, and societies become more cohesive. Today, more than ever, we need to safeguard critical child-related expenditures. With the economic fallout due to effects of the pandemic, children are twice likely to live in poverty as their families and parents lose their sources of income. The COVID-19 crisis is also a child rights crisis, as UNICEF always keep on referring to that. This pandemic is putting whole generation at risk of missing out on critical learning and constraining access to immunization and other health services that were disrupted even before the pandemic and now by the pandemic. At the macro level, we know that as governments try to recover from this crisis, the fiscal priority will shift towards reviving and sustaining the economy. But when fiscal consolidation and cuts are primarily affecting social sectors where programs for child survival development, such as education, health, and social welfare, are traditionally lodged, the poverty and deprivation among children will continue to rise even after the immediate crisis has waned. An inclusive recovery plan is imperative to prevent countless more children from reaching levels of poverty unseen for many years to come. We cannot allow the reversal of critical child development gains that have achieved in the past. Efficient, equitable, and enduring investments in children are investments in the nation's prosperity, stability, and economic growth. On World Children's Day last November 20, we were reminded of the importance to amplify children's voices and listen to their concerns from mental and physical health to education, participation, and protection. The resource book on the public budgeting for children's rights in the Philippines comes very timely to bolster their call to more investments in young generation. I thank you all for the critical inputs provided to the development of this resource book. And as you mentioned, it has taken a lot of time. And I really encourage everyone to continue with our shared advocacy to safeguard, improve the allocation and the spending of public resources for children. Maraming salamat po. Over to you.
Thank you very much. You now you're speaking in Tagalog. Good to hear you speak in
Learning.
Tagalog. Yes. And you mentioned some good points. You said public investment in children is a smart investment, and with the COVID-19 pandemic, we have to make sure that there's no reversal of the gains that we have achieved for the past years in child rights. It's been 31 years. We have been busy the past month celebrating the 31 years of the UNCRC, and yeah, we should continue doing that despite despite the pandemic. That's what's happening. So please stay with
Absolutely.
us for the rest of the hour. We will have an open forum later, and if you also have questions for Yun, kindly use the Q&A box or the chat box, and yeah, we'll try to answer it later.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also joined here by my UNICEF colleagues, and they can also take questions. Thank you.
Thank
Looking
you. Yes,
forward.
I think I see Roselle and Attorney Annie here.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. And please feel free to ask the questions to our participants.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we proceed with the next speaker to provide us more information about the resource material. I am now giving the time to the Regional Executive Director of CRC Asia, Ms. Amihan Abueva. Amihan, you have your time. Yeah, I think your microphone is
Yeah.
off.
Yes,
Yes,
now
okay.
it's on. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Madam Uyuan and Mayor Climacov, for being with us, and all your friends, all the friends that are here today. We're really very happy to have all of you. So allow me to just share with you briefly how this book came about. And wait, let me see. It should be somewhere here. Wait, my goodness. Wait, let me. It's yeah. Just a moment. It's somewhere here, but oh my goodness, I
So
cannot.
maybe while we're waiting for Amien's
Oh, wait.
presentation, the link to the resource book is posted by Dennis. You can now download the final copy of the material through that link.
Okay, now I find it. I hope it's there. Yeah, is it showing already, Hazel?
Not yet.
Oops. Okay. Okay, there.
There, we can see it
Sorry.
now.
So this afternoon, this book that we are going to present, as already mentioned, really took us quite some time to get it done. Oops, how come I cannot move it? Here. Okay. So at least the more recent history is that even before the general comment number 19 was made, CRC Asia and our other partners, UNICEF and our other partners, helped to discuss the draft of uh, general comment number 19 and to make inputs about it. So we are very happy when it was finally finalized. So we had a series of activities. First, we wanted to know who's doing what about public finance management for children. And then we had 3 learning sessions and then a validation with stakeholders. So we looked at PFM at the different levels and then also tried to come to an understanding of effectiveness and efficiency in the PFM or public finance management. And then looked at how there should be synchronization between local and national PFM. And then we also validated the results of the discussions with the stakeholders. So what did we learn? First, there has to be the practice of being evidence-based in planning and budgeting across all the levels of the PFM system. And this is why first there has to be a child rights situation analysis that looks at the different situations of children in the country, and then also look at the accreditation process of the CSOs so that marginalized groups and vulnerable sectors are able to be included in the discussion about the public finance management. And then, of course, there has to be an updated and child rights sensitive database system. The second point is that there is a need to enhance the harmonized collaboration of different agencies and units of the government at both national and subnational levels. The third point was that we need to also have a capacity that the different stakeholders of the PFM system are able to understand both the principles of the UNCRC as well as the principles of budgeting. It's important that we know what the child rights issues are, and we know that these are dynamic, and therefore this has to be captured in the different government priorities. And making sure that the PFM system is inclusive means that we also have to have the skills and knowledge in both child rights and public budgeting. So there's a lot of learning that has to happen. So what did we put in the book? Well, the book puts together the different resources that are available on PFM and children's rights so that child rights and human rights advocates can refer to it, because we're very lucky as well in the Philippines because we have already a lot of work has already been done in terms of uh, fighting for transparency within government, making sure that there's recognition of the role of civil society organizations, as well as the information on how to develop the child rights impact assessment. So all of these skills are necessary to be able to do PFM that will respect children's rights. So we looked at the different policies and legislation on children's rights as well as PFM that are applicable at the national and sub-national levels. Then we also tried to put the websites information sets of the different government agencies and CSOs and other stakeholders, academe that may be consulted or engaged with for more efficient public budgeting for children's rights. We also looked at tried to make a list of topic experts who can support the continuous development of public budgeting for children's rights. This is very crucial because if we don't know, we have to know who knows so that we can ask them and increase our knowledge. So this just some pictures of, I think many of you will recognize yourselves in the pictures of the different learning sessions that were done. And then this is the list of government agencies and units who were involved in the study sessions, both as participants as well as resource persons. So we have government agencies and units, as well as several local government units who participated and share their experience with us. And then we have a long list of civil society organizations who also share their experience as well as their questions and what worked and what didn't work, which are all very important for us to learn from. So that's the just briefly how we were able to make the book. So again, thank you very much. And we look forward to working with you so that we can compile. Maybe the next step will be to ensure that we're able to share the experiences when you use the book so that we can further improve it. So thank you very much. So
Thank you.
Hazel, that's back to you.
Yes. Thank you, Amihan. Yeah, so the link is already in the chat box. You can view it, and if you've already received a copy, you can yeah, you can browse through it and read it. When GC19 was adopted, and as part of our continuation of the advocacy, we were strategizing on how to implement the experts' advice from the committee. One of the main challenges that came up is that child rights organizations, they are experts on child rights. Some of us can pull from memory what UNCRC Article 12 is. We can explain the concepts of evolving capacities and best interests of the child. Some of us are even experts in developing child-friendly materials, translating the complicated documents into a language that is understandable to children of different ages. But most of us child rights practitioners need help in understanding the language and processes of auditors, of finance managers, or budget planning officers. While we at the child rights sector have our own acronyms, we use CRC, ECCD, VAC, EVAC. Just like us, those working in the public finance management like NEDA, the Department of Budget Management, our legislators, our local government units, they have their own acronyms like GAA, ERA, PPA, AIP, ELA. And if we, child rights organizations, want to work with these stakeholders who are part of the public finance management system, we need to know these acronyms as well. We need to be able to speak with them in the language that they understand. We need to know their processes, their deadlines, the documents and laws that they refer to. And that is the area where the resource material falls, trying to guide the CSOs on how to link the UNCRC, the rights of the child, and the advice from the GC19 to the existing public finance processes at the national and subnational levels. So now on to our next stage. Well, we will have our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker sent her confirmation to join the launch around a month ago before Typhoon Ulysses hit the Philippines. Unfortunately, yesterday afternoon, she sent her regrets because she will not be able to join us live right now. She had to shift her schedule around the typhoon relief operations. But she made sure not to leave us hanging and left us a video message she sent to us last night. Is the video ready? Dennis, I think you'll be the one playing. Can you put it up right now. Okay. So yeah, so she made sure that she still gets her message across through our platform. So please join me in listening to the video message of the Vice President of the Philippines, Leni Robredo.
Congratulations to the Child Rights Coalition Asia and UNICEF Philippines for the launching of this resource book. Thank you for all the hard work you poured into conceptualizing and producing this material. This is truly important work which will play a vital role in our efforts to push the children's rights agenda forward. I know that this is not the launching you had imagined. After many months of working on this project, it would have been nice to celebrate the culmination with your peers, breaking bread, taking some selfies, sharing a physical space with them, with those who work tirelessly to bring this book to life. But COVID-19 has really disrupted our way of life, forcing us out of our usual routines. For much of 2020, we have lived mindful of the pandemic spread. Many of us working from home, juggling the responsibilities we have at the office and to our families. Elsewhere, the virus continues to tighten its grip. Economies are reeling, businesses big and small are being forced to close shop, and entire populations edge closer to poverty. The inequality gap widens and fissures old and new are surfacing in society, attacking the rights and dignities of those in the margins. These changes are felt across all sectors of society, and children are no exception. According to UNICEF, around 1.4 billion children worldwide have been living under some form of lockdown because of the pandemic. Access to school and play has been drastically limited, and children have been forced out of their normal routines. Likewise, many of our efforts to improve the lives of less fortunate children have become even more challenging because of the pandemic. Schools have shifted to blended learning modalities for students and teachers, where classes are primarily conducted online. There are modules to supplement learning. In some areas, these are printed by teachers, delivered to the homes of their students to aid their learning experience. Some, however, are struggling with this current setup. In poorer communities, educators are spending out of pocket to provide materials and a lot of times adjusting themselves to this new online mode. Meanwhile, students who have no access to technology and the internet are lagging behind their peers. With parents or guardians who are often also inadequately equipped to adjust to the times, learning has suffered. Today, as advocates of children's rights, we are given an opportunity to reflect. How do we make sure that the post-COVID-19 world is one where no child is left behind? How do we begin to reimagine the future, building towards a better normal, especially for young boys and girls? There are no easy, ready-made answers to these questions. But one thing is sure. If we are to solve our most pressing problems, we need more people to be engaged, given pathways to contribute to society and empowered. More relevant to our cause, this means pulling together with the rest of society, with families, with our communities, our leaders, and every Filipino to make sure that the public budget truly reflects our values and pursues a more compassionate agenda for children everywhere. This is why civil society organizations like yours are important in the process of implementing child-friendly budgets. Through you, the public can scrutinize how the government allocates the people's money, giving us access to information and other initiatives and resources so we can better understand the gaps that need to be filled. This is transparency at work, putting the necessary focus on the formulation and enactment of government spending that should ultimately redound to the benefit of the people. In our case, this means pushing for various budget initiatives that will lead us to the realization of child rights, such as creating public awareness, strengthening institutions and facilities for childcare, and advocating for programs that assist parents in raising their children. For us at the Office of the Vice President, this means working together with organizations like yours so that we can further expand our reach and help those most in need. As you know, our budget is one of the smallest in the entire bureaucracy to boot. So we had to orient ourselves towards a certain role, a center of gravity, a conduit, a bridge between organizations wanting to help and communities who most needed help. Partnerships and constant collaboration became the lifeblood of our office, which has allowed us to be more relevant, more responsive, and more agile in the work that we do. In our 4 years in office, and more recently with the pandemic and the recent calamities that hit the country, we have seen how working together to find new solutions has benefited the people who need help the most. We saw bayanihan, the spirit of collaboration in action. Volunteers, young and old, groups from the public and the private sectors coming together and filling the gaps so that communities can build back better. We've built community learning hubs for students, a safe space where they can have access to learning tools, equipment, and the internet that will help them in their studies. Young people volunteered as tutors in our learning hubs, while generous souls donated gadgets so that children in these hubs have something to use. It inspired us to work harder and to engage with more partners who are willing to help. If there is anything that the pandemic has taught us, it's that the greater the challenge, the greater the imperative for us to contribute, to be involved, and to extend our reach and expand our circles of compassion. What you have given us today is a valuable tool that will aid different stakeholders in this endeavor. A guidebook that shows us entry points where we can influence the budget to realize the rights of children, from drafting plans and approving legislation, and ultimately to implementing the programs that fill in the gaps. Our task moving forward is to bring these plans to reality, taking the form of actual benefits, resources, and services. Programs that will meet their actual needs in education, health, security, and protection. I am certain that there are many more initiatives out there, spaces and platforms where we can collaborate, linking up our networks and resources and integrating our efforts so that we all move towards this better normal. So I hope today's launching is only the beginning of new partnerships and collaborations taking shape. We will need to find more of us to do the work, more of us to rise to the moment, more of us to widen the path for others to follow. If today's event is any indication, I am even more confident that we are on the right track because we are here now, shining a spotlight on the rights of children. A better normal is waiting in the horizon. A world that is fair, inclusive, and just, where every child is free to dream and make it come true. Maraming salamat, mabuhay kayong lahat.
Right. Thank you, VP Lenny. So she raised many points there about collaboration, about transparency. And at the middle of her speech, she asked several questions for reflection. And one of those is, how do we make sure that the post-COVID-19 world is a world where no child is left behind? As we all know, as advocates, as Oyun mentioned earlier, child rights issues due to or exacerbated by COVID-19 pandemic are appearing, where we are learning about them, and we need to provide immediate response. There is a need for humanitarian support, but ultimately we have to work towards sustainable development so that when emergencies or shocks like this happen, the negative impact is not that greatly felt, especially by children and other marginalized groups. And for sustainable development to happen, it needs state budget support, it needs public investment. So thank you, VP Lenny, for posing that question. If you have any messages for her, if you want to react to her speech, please feel free to type your feelings, your emotions in the chat box. You can use the emojis if you know how to use it. Yeah. All right. And if you have any messages that you want to be relayed to the Vice President, please feel free to type it in and we will relay your message to her office. Now we go to the next part of our activity to hear some reactions. Well, we already got initial reactions from some of you, especially those who joined us in the learning sessions and already received the hard copies in your offices. You shared with us your delight and surprise also when you got your copies delivered to your doorstep. Akala nyo delivery from Shopee or Lazada, no? But no, delivery from Sears Asia yan. So we made sure that our reactors for today's launch received copies for the material, but I have to admit that this is not a child-friendly version. Maybe we'll be able to produce one later on if needed, just like what we did in GC19. GC19 has a popularized video and child-friendly version, and Dennis will post the link to those, the video and the child-friendly booklet. We don't have a child-friendly version of this yet that goes with those material yet, but we already know that children have the right, the interest, the capacity, and the aspiration to be part of the public budgeting process, especially because this process affects them. And to hear the children's perspective, we have with us now a member of Pinagsamang Lakas ng Kabataan or PILAC, a community-based child-led organization based in one of the cities of Metro Manila. Please welcome 16-year-old child rights advocate Bianca. Hello, Bianca. How are you?
Ano po?
Okay, the time is yours. Pwede ka na magsimula.
So, isang makabatang araw po sa inyong lahat. Masaya po ako ngayon dahil maswerte ako at ako po ang imbitahang magsalita ngayong araw para sa virtual launching ng Resource Book on Public Budgeting for Children's Rights sa Pilipinas. At bilang isang bata, alam ko naman po na napakaraming issue at mga problema ang kinakaharap ng ating bansa at kasama na po doon ang mga issue naming mga bata tulad na lamang po ng corporal punishment, teenage pregnancy, bullying, child labor at marami pa. Natutuwa po akong malaman na sa wakas po ay may ganito ng libro na makakatulong upang makapagplano ng maayos sa pagbabudget para sa aming mga bata. Inaasahan ko po na ito ay masunod ng ating pamahalaan para sa ikabubuti ng kalagayan naming mga bata. Ma-improve na po sana ang pagbabudget para sa aming mga pangangailangan at karapatan ng pantay-pantay na siyang ipinangako ng mga nasa pwesto ngayon at sa mga susunod pa. Matamasa po sana naming mga bata ang mga proyekto at mga plano na pinaglalaanan ng budget at hindi po sana ito mapunta sa bulsa lamang ng kung sino-sino. Sa usapang pagbabudget po, lalo na at ito'y patungkol sa amin, ay gusto po talaga naming lumahok upang makapagbigay kami ng aming mga opinion at suggestion na sa tingin po namin ay dapat pagtuunan ng pansin. Marami pa rin po kasi ang mga batang nakakaranas ng iba't ibang problema sa ating bansa. Alam ko naman pong hindi ito maiiwasan, kaya naman nais din po namin na tulungan at maging boses para sa aming mga kapwa-bata sa pamamagitan ng pakikilahok na siya rin naming karapatan. Pinanghahawakan ko po ang katagang Nothing About Us Without Us. Dahil bilang isang bata, kami po ang mas nakakaalam ng aming kalagayan, kaya sana po ay pakinggan kami at ang aming mga rekomendasyon. Kung maaari din po sana at nasabi na rin po kanina ay magkaroon ng ganitong libro na para sa mga bata o child-friendly na libro upang lubos po namin itong maunawaan at makalahok kami sa pagbabudget. Sa pangkalahatan, nais ko lamang po talaga na magamit ang libro sa maayos na pamamaraan upang mapabuti po ang pagbabudget at sitwasyon ng mga bata sa ating bansa. Tayo po sana ay magtulungan para sa ikauunlad at sa kinabukasan po ng ating bayan. Yan, so muli ako si Bianca May Bernardo mula sa Pinagsamang Lakas ng Kabataan ng Una Hakbang Foundation na nagsasabing, Every day is Children's Day. Ilang po. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Bianca, sa iyong mensahe. Makikita natin sa sinabi ni Bianca, no, na ang mga bata ay alam ang nangyayari. They are aware of what's happening. At gusto nilang makilahok. Gusto nilang, they want to be part of the budgeting processes. But they want the information, they want the space, they want the capacity to be able to do that. And hopefully, Bianca, sa tulong ng mga CSOs na kasama natin ngayon, matutulungan na rin ang mga batang tulad mo na makilahok. Kasi yun din yung tanong namin actually nung nagdi-discuss kami sa learning session. Paano natin ipapasok ang mga bata? Medyo mahirap nga kasi kami nga hindi namin naintindihan pa masyado yung budgeting process. So, kaya ang ginagawa namin ngayon ay alamin kung ano muna ang proseso at saka yun, matulungan sana kayo later on. Marami tayong mga partners na nandito ngayon na may mga child-led groups din sila at sana nga sa mga susunod, actually magta-2022 na, dapat nagsisimula na for January, nakasulat dito yung schedule, dapat January pa lang, nagpa-planning na for next year. So tignan natin kung paano natin magagawa iyon ngayong may pandemic na. Maraming salamat, Bianca.
Thank you po.
We have a question already at the Q&A, a question for UNICEF. Maybe Attorney Annie or Rosella can type in the answer to that. We are 40 minutes past the hour, so we're a little bit lagging behind. So we still have three more speakers. So now I will call on our next speakers. During the series of learning sessions, we were joined by several representatives from the national government, DILG, DBM, DSWD, DepEd, CWC, just to name a few. Their inputs, their presentations during the learning sessions were incorporated in this resource material. We do not have a speaker right now from the national government agency, but just like in our learning sessions, we have with us a representative from the local government unit. We have with us a local chief executive, a decision maker. She was recommended by Social Watch to share her thoughts and comments on a resource material. So please welcome from Zamboanga City, Mayor Maria Isabel Climaco Salazar. Mayor Beng.
Muchas gracias, Hazel.
Yes.
Muchas gracias for being a very empowered na bata. Maraming salamat at mabuhay kayong mga bata. VP Lenny, Miss Oyun, kasama natin si Dr. June, Ma'am Luz, at lahat po na aking mga kasamahan ngayon. Ako po si Mayor Beng Climaco. Ang kasama ko po dito si Jasmine, si Garnet at si Sheila. Dito po kami sa lungsod ng Zamboanga. Ito po ang aking pamilya. The children are my VIPs. The children are my happy hormones. My calling as a local chief executive include helping make our children's future a reality today. By 2025, we envision that the city of Zamboanga, ang mga bata, are born healthy, registered at birth, totally developed, safe, secure, and assertive, katulad ni Bianca, of their basic rights by providing effective, efficient, right-based, gender-responsive, and culture-sensitive programs and services that will promote your best interests. In 2019, Zamboanga City Local Council for the Protection of Children attained the ideal level of functionality with a rating of 103%. We are constantly recognized as a child-friendly city. The full support for our children education through our early childhood education, publication of materials, and support for daycare workers and teachers. So meron po kaming mga libro para sa aming mga daycare, gawa na po ng aming CSWD under Ma'am Soki Rojas. The support that we give for health drives, most recent ang ating Mr. Sia vaccination drive, achieved 98.18% coverage of measles and rubella shots. Dito sa Zamboanga City, meron po kaming 98 barangays, pero meron din po kaming mga islands. So kami nagpapasalamat that our health workers went to the different Muslim, Christian, Lumad communities. In 2019, the Child Friendly Cities Inspire Award finalists Kasali po yung Zamboanga sa Cologne, Germany for Break the Silence to End Sexual Child Abuse and Exploitation Program. Thank you very much to our partners in UNICEF, Attorney Annie na kasama ko doon. As we constantly work to better ang mga services ng ating mga bata, I welcome the publication of the Public Budgeting for Children's Rights in the Philippines so that makakapagtulong po tayo sa ating mga local governments. It is a comprehensive look on the budgeting process and an eye-opener and reminder of our obligation sa ating mga bata as mandated by law. As a budgeting resource, it is an excellent guide for local government units on the responsibilities we have, as well as on the ways and means to foster an inclusive government through local budgeting process with children as focal lens. Kung makita nyo dito sa video, ang tanong ko dito sa mga bata, kung kayo ay mayor, ano ang gusto nyong gawin? This will be instrumental when working with our local partners and organizations for children and women as it provides transparency on budgeting process on a map and common grounds where we can work together and further improve our services. Safeguarding our children today and tomorrow is a legal mandate and above all a moral obligation that children must be our agenda. Ito kasama ko po si Kiko Miranda. The children and the youth are the largest population group, yet also the most vulnerable. Government's services must respond to their needs now more than ever because nasa pandemic tayo. When we invest in our children, we invest in the future. I know this because I work with young people every day and I welcome their drive, passion, and vision katulad ni Hazel. Our children have the right to speak. They have every right to be heard. They must be represented, protected, and nurtured by the government. So maraming salamat. Ang kasama ko dito sa picture ang mga bata na dati ding naging biktima nung Zamboanga siege. At sa tulong ng Panginoon and our Blessed Mother and Saint Joseph, unting-unting bumabangon ng mga bata, bagamat meron naman tayong pandemic. But nonetheless, ang aking pong hinihiling is let us help make our children's future a reality, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. Muchas gracias, Ivaya Fondios.
Muchas gracias po, Mayor Beng. Maraming salamat na nakakagulat na may LCPC functionality na 103%, nakakasana all. And Mayor Beng also mentioned the transparency on the budgeting process, which echoes the mention of the transparency mentioned by VP Lenny earlier. Transparency is one of the public budgeting principles mentioned in GC19. Nasa page 14 po yung tungkol sa mga principles ng public budgeting. So we have 10 more minutes left and we have 2 speakers left. So now I will be giving the floor to one of the participating organizations to the series of learning sessions we held on public budgeting for child rights. If I'm not mistaken, isa siya sa mga naka-perfect attendance sa learning sessions hanggang sa validation ata. Kung nagbibigay kami ng award, best in attendance, isa siya sa mga recipient nun. Please welcome the Executive Director of Life Haven Center for Independent Living, Dr. Benjamin Bernardino. Doc June?
Yes, magandang araw. Papakilala muna ako, John Bernardino, lead convener din ho ng Philippine Coalition on the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Yung background ko, totoong background yan. That's not a virtual background. Nasa bed ho ako. Ako ay may spinal cord injury, kaya quadriplegic. Everything below the neck is paralyzed. So, with that out of the picture, pwede hong pakita na yung aking unang slide sa 100 slides na susunod. Isang slide lang ho talaga. Para guide na rin at visual aid para sa presentasyon. So pagbati ho sa lahat ng mga kasama ko sa panel at congratulations ho sa CRC kay Ma'am Amihan. Welcome sa mga participants natin. So dito ho, nauna dito sa lugar ay yung kulay itim. Change is inevitable. Mangyayari at mangyayari. Ang malaking papel natin dito ay yung pag-impluwensya doon sa pagbabago na yon. At sa sektor ng mga may kapansanan, ang pag-impluwensya na yun ay gusto namin patungo sa disability inclusive development. Okay. Sa budget ho ay makikita kung talaga nabibigyang pansin, okay, at pinaglalaanan ng pondo para ma-implement yung mga polisiyang meron tayo. Okay, kung hindi ko mabibigyan ng sapat na pondo itong mga polisiyang magagandang polisiya natin, eh wala rin mangyayari doon sa mga tao, lalo na sa mga may kapansanan. So kung hindi ho ngayon yung bibigyan ng pansin, eh lalo kung mapapag-iwanan ang sektor ng mga may kapansanan, lalo na yung mga batang may kapansanan. Ang magiging resulta sa huli, yung sinasabing pabigat sa lipunan. Hindi mabubuo, hindi ma-realize yung karapatan o yung potensyal ng mga may kapansanan. Ito, kitang-kita to sa bata pa lang kung masusuportahan nila. Eventually, sila ay magiging active contributor sa development. Hindi pabigat sa lipunan. Kung sa simula pa lang ay nabigyan na ng suporta yung mga pangangailangan nila para makasali, makapag-aral, matuto, makapagtrabaho, makapagpamilya. Okay? Makisali sa pang-araw-araw na aktibidades sa community. Pag hindi pa ngayon ni-recognize yung pangangailangan na suportahan ang kalagayan ng mga batang may kapansanan, sa huli ho, makikita natin isa itong failure sa pagkilala sa mga karapatang pantao ng mga batang may kapansanan. Paano ho ba yung disability inclusive development? So, meron ho kaming pillars dyan, yung principles na ina-apply. Awareness. Alam ba natin yung mga karapatan ng mga taong ito? Alam ba natin yung mga karapatan ng mga batang may kapansanan? Sigurado ako sa grupo nandito ngayon, alam natin yung mga karapatan ng mga batang may kapansanan. Pero malaking tanong, paano marirealize yun? Paano may enjoy? Isa pa ho sa pillar ng disability inclusive development ay yung empowerment. Bigyan natin ng lakas ang mga batang may kapansanan para makilahok sa papaanong paraan. Unang-una ay yung pagkilala sa potential nila. Okay, pagbibuild sa self-confidence nila. Okay, at pagpapalawak, pagpapalalim ng mga kaalaman, okay, yung knowledge base ng mga batang may kapansanan. Again, ang question, paano nga mangyayari yun? Kung ang mga gamit natin, source ng information, format ng information na pinapakalat ay hindi accessible. So, ang third pillar ay accessibility. Accessible na paligid, physical environment, built environment, okay? Accessible na format ng informasyon. At yung mga kinakailangan tulong, assistive device at assistive technology para ma-access ang mga informasyon na yon. At yung pangatlong component ng accessibility na sinasabi namin ay yung communication channels. Pwede nagpapakala tayo ng informasyon. Nasa internet yan. Meron tayong mga audio-video, presentations, pero hindi effective yun na channel para sa mga kasamang deaf. Okay? So ano kailangan? Magdagdag ng support services na kakailanganin para ma-facilitate yung access sa information at access to communication. So yung una, awareness, tapos yung participation, empowerment, accessibility. Ang hindi kaya nabanggit, participation. So lahat ng ito, pag napagsama-sama, masisiguro yung magiging disability inclusive ang pag-unlad. Okay? So parte ho ng resource book, again, congratulations sa CRC, kila Ma'am Amihan, at lahat ng kasali sa paggawa ng resource book na yun. Parte ho doon, napakaganda, ay tungkol sa mga batang may kapansanan. So isang question yung dating tinatanong ng iba. Hiwalay pa ba ang mga batang may kapansanan o taong may kapansanan sa mainstream? Pagka ba may kapansanan, iba ba yung karapatan mo? Hindi. Siguro ang naging issue lang ay paano talaga ma-enjoy na may kapansanan yung the same rights. Ang karapatan ko, karapatan nyo, karapatan ng walang kapansanan at may kapansanan, parehas lang talaga. Ang pamaraan lang ang kailangan liwanagin at i-address. Ano yung barriers na kinakaharap ng mga may kapansanan? Okay, dati ho, ang pagkilos tungkol sa advocacy ng mga may kapansanan ay ginagalawan lang ng mga taong may kapansanan. Napakaganda ho ngayon na nasa kamalayan ng mga development workers at yung mga advocates sa iba-ibang larangan ang issues at concerns ng mga may kapansanan. So bago ko tapusin, announce ko lang, December 3, International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Sana yung kamalayan natin sa ano ba yung barriers, ano yung pangangailangan, lagi nating maalala. So sa huli ho, pagbati muli sa CRC at pagkilala sa kahalagahan ng resource book na ginawa nila tungkol sa pagbabudget bilang isa sa instrumento sa paniniguro na kasali ang mga may kapansanan sa pag-unlad, lalo na ang ating mga kabataang may kapansanan. So maraming salamat. Congratulations. Back to you, Ma'am Hazel.
Salamat po, Doc June. Sabi nga ni Doc June, kung hindi bibigyan ng pansin, may mga mahuhuli. So, pumunta na tayo sa ating last speaker to complete our set of speakers for today. We have with us the lead convener of one of the founding members of CRC Asia, the Mindanao Action Group for Children's Rights and Protection, or MAG-CRP, from Tambayan Center for Child Rights, Executive Director Luz Divina Canava Anu.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Especially to our Honorable Vice President, Lenny Robredo, to our UNICEF representative, Ms. Oyun, to Honorable Mayor Beng Climaco Salazar of Zamboanga City, to Amihan of CRC Asia, to Bianca, our beloved child speaker, and to Dr. June Bernardino. Good afternoon, everyone. Instead of starting with the usual profuse thank yous for inviting MAG-CRP to join this virtual launching, may I say welcome. I welcome you all to join our CSO in learning from this valuable book. We are actually humbled that we have been invited to this virtual launching. And instead of saying congratulations, may I say condolence. My condolences to those who will fail to get a hold of this book because they stand to lose. I feel sorry for them. So why do I say that? The book is good news and comes at a time of so many bad news. MAG-CRP welcomes it with open arms. MAG-CRP, which stands for Mindanao Action Group for Children's Rights and Protection, is a consortium of NGOs based in Davao City, in Osamis, and in Zamboanga City. One of the things we do is to engage with the local councils for the protection of children at the city and barangay level. And it is for this reason that we find this resource material on public budgeting for children's rights a real blessing. As I read the book, three things stood out for me. First, the book is a treasure chest. It offers a wealth of knowledge and cannot be read and absorbed in one sitting. As I read the book, I was so overwhelmed and I felt like I was going through a 10-day seminar on the public finance management system. It confirmed my view that government budgeting is indeed complex. The book informs the readers about the already existing legal measures for the promotion of children's rights and for people's participation in public budgeting. No? So halimbawa, it mentions the DBM number 109, which was issued in February 2011, that orders NGAs or national government agencies to establish measures that expand citizen participation in all phases of public budgeting process. But aside from informing the readers about these legal measures, the book expounds on how the CSOs can engage better with the public actors. Now, this leads me to the second characteristic of the book, which I found amazing. The book explains the different ways by which CSOs can play to influence public finance management. For instance, it measures CSOs entering into a budget partnership agreement so that the CSO can participate in the preparation, execution, monitoring, and evaluation of specific PPAs of the partner government agency. The book also suggests engagements by the CSOs with the public learning institutions to facilitate the mainstreaming of child rights awareness para mapalaganap ang kaalaman at appreciation for child rights among our public servants we engage these public learning institutions such as the Civil Service Institute of the Civil Service Commission. The book also mentions Local Government Academy of the DILG, the Center for Local and Regional Governance of the UP National College of Public Administration and Governance, and of course, DAP. Another suggestion from the book is for CSOs to present their services to help the LGUs get the transparency seal by making child rights principles visible in all aspects of the PFM system. CSOs can also work with the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines, or ULAP. No? So if you imagine, if we can engage with the ULAP, you are actually engaging with the many leagues, the leagues of cities, the leagues of municipalities, the leagues of vice governors, the leagues of Philippine councilors. No? So you are, with CSOs engaging with the ULAP, we multiply our reach and expand our voices. No? Another suggestion from the book is participation by CSOs during the budget legislation process. Anyway, so the third point is that I liked about the book is the book uses QR codes. Imagine, pati libro may QR code na rin. But unlike the QR codes imposed by our government, which limits your access, the QR codes in the book expands your access to publications and multiple documents. And I tried several QR codes in the book, and I was so happy to gain access to documents that otherwise I would not have known about, or I would have difficulty accessing. So the QR codes were very good. I can talk more about the book because I really find it educative and powerful, but let me go to just one recommendation. For the book to be fully utilized, I recommend that an online seminar or a series of seminars be organized around the contents of the book, with the seminar being open to CSOs and CSO coalitions involved in child rights and child protection. I have to admit that not many NGO workers are readers. Many are dedicated field staff and are heroic in their work for the children. But unfortunately, reading a book of over 120 pages will not be their priority. But they will attend a webinar or a seminar. So I suggest that the book content be divided into chunks and a series of webinars be organized per chunk of knowledge. We can invite selected topic experts and CSOs as speakers, those that have good practices in budget advocacy, to share their own experiences and lessons learned. Okay, so I think my time is up. Let me end here now. But again, I say condolences to those who will not get a copy of the resource material or who will not read the book. You stand to lose. No? So again, congratulations to CRC Asia. Thank you.
Salamat po, Luz. I think you mentioned a recommendation already, and when we were developing this book without the pandemic, of course, our idea of capacity building is the face-to-face meetings. But now that we have been using the online platform to train people, to capacitate, so maybe we can explore your suggestion. And I think there's also a question related to that, a follow-up question regarding the MODA. Maybe there's a training module in MODA in Agora. So it's also, there's a question addressed to CRC Asia if capacity building opportunities will continue. So yeah, so those are points that we noted, for Amihan noted, and the rest of my colleagues in CRC Asia, and also UNICEF has always been providing support on this advocacy. We're already over time, but I think the questions, we tried to answer the questions. We're always in contact with Inday if you want some follow-up questions, follow-up information as well, how to get the copies, just contact Inda. And yeah, so I would now wrap up. Please give me 1 minute or 2 minutes to wrap up. So to thank you very much for joining our launch. Thank you also for the team that worked with us on this, from UNICEF Philippines, Attorney Annie and Rosella, our contributor Agnes, our copy editor Roja, our artwork and layout artist Richard, and to my colleagues in CRC Asia, in Dahula, this project supported by Sheikh and Dennis, and our admin and finance colleagues, Irma, Francis, Florence, and Amian, and to all of you who contributed to this material, the CSOs from the children's sector, the disability sector, the IP community from the women's sector, the representatives from the national government agencies and local government units. This would not be possible without your inputs, without telling us what information you need, what should be included in the material, and how should it be said, and how do you want it to look. And now we have several recommendations on how to move forward with this material, inputs from Bianca, from Luz, and for those who interacted with us in the Q&A and chat box. Thank you for that. So, on behalf of CRC Asia and UNICEF Philippines and our supporting partners, Save the Children Philippines and Plan International Asia, thank you for being part of this advocacy and for giving us an hour of your time, an hour and 5 minutes of your time to attend the virtual launch of the Public Budgeting for Child Rights in the Philippines, a resource book. It's December already, so it's socially acceptable to wish you now a Merry Christmas and have a good day. Bye-bye.